Hello, and welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We are so happy to have you here with us today. We are on the Going Solo Life After Relationship Loss show. And, this is a very difficult time when we're talking about relationship loss, and we want to make sure that we cover this topic very thoroughly for you. So we have a wonderful guest here today. But before we start, I'd like to introduce myself. I am Cece Shatz. I'm the doyenne of relationship building. I am a divorce, dating, and a life coach. And all of our information you can find right there on goingsolomedia.com. That's goingsolomedia.com. All of our wonderful shows are there, all of our great hosts that we have on the network, and some super guests. So you want to check that out. Each host has their own page, and we have some special elite guests that have their own page with all of their information, their links, and everything. And as we're talking about an elite guest, we have one with us today. So we are so happy to have her. It's Tina Lynn Huggins. Let's bring her right up. Hello. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Tina, you're a divorce specialist, and you started your journey in divorce while working in law enforcement and teaching self defense at the local battered women's shelter. Tina is a renowned divorce coach specialist who has helped conflicts and countless individuals healed from painless relationship experiences. And we want to thank you so much for being on the show here today because, talking about abuse, and this is what we're going to talk about. Feel free after abuse and stop walking on eggshells is a very touchy subject. So we want to thank you for coming forward and being willing to talk about such a heavy subject. So tell us a little bit about how you and why you got into being a divorce specialist.
Well, I got into the divorce. Obviously, I had started this process in dealing with divorced people back when I was working in law enforcement, and then I, of course, taught the battered women's shelter self defense. And what happened through my life through abuse is not just something that happens to women. My dad went through it and was almost murdered by his second wife. She shot at him several times. I didn't get to see the bullet holes, my brother did, but I was the one who picked him up from the hospital the last time when she run over him with a pickup truck. So those types of things just set me into motion. And then I met my husband, who was also in an abusive type situation. His was more psychological with minor physical abuse. But that when you're abused, you go through a process of not even seeing the abuse, and that's a part. I've started writing a book specifically about that because we don't, I mean, everybody says, well, why don't you just get out of the relationship? We don't even see what is going on from the inside. We're too close, too in the middle of it to even see. My dad, even today, 20 years later, can't even use the word abused in a sentence because he still struggles with what happened.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought this forward. And I want to thank you for sharing your story, your family story, because a lot of us, we think it's gender, one sided gender of women only that are abused. But it's not the case. It's men that also get abused, as such as your father. But, they have a different struggle that they go through, not only recovering from the actual abuse itself, but men have trouble dealing with it because like mentally they're taught to gut it up and be tough and all of this kind of stuff. And they're also taught, I'm hoping, if their mothers are good, they're taught to treat women differently and kindly and such. And so when that table is turned, they're not equipped to handle it. They just don't know how to deal with all of that. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, back when my dad was going through everything that he was going through, I had to literally take the abuse literature and prove to him, because what was actually going on, in his case, he's the epitome of an old cowboy. So he definitely had the respect for the women and would never strike a woman. And so he didn't see the abuse happening to him when things would get thrown. That's not really striking you. And bullet holes, he just thought it was just her getting angry and venting. And there's many other things. Even the next two women that he went through were just bad. And it when men go through the abuse, we women, we raise our hand even a little bit and say, hey, I'm in an abusive relationship. All the rest of us women go. And it's very hard for a man to raise their hand and say, this is one abusive and I am the one being abused.
Right.
And so then they don't seek that help and ask for assistance in the process until after they realize things, and then by then it's almost too late.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're so right because women, even if we don't like report the abuse, will generally have a friend or somebody that we talk to about our relationship and what's happening. Generally speaking, I won't say all the time, but generally speaking, we do. And they can get, some help that way and some maybe encouragement to seek professional help. But men, they don't share it. Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah, they just keep it down deep and they don't really share it. So what would you say, I mean, experiencing this in your family and then both being touched by your husband and your personal family, what would you say would be like some steps that we can give as encouragement to kind of start feeling a little bit free of the abuse and really stop walking on eggshells? Because I on your website, I saw that and this phrase, and I thought that is so true because when you're in an abusive situation, that is exactly what you're doing is walking on eggshells. Deep down something's not quite right, and you don't know how to navigate, right? You don't really know how to step forward, step sideways, step whatever. And so let's share a little tips that you can maybe share with us to be able to start, creating not only the awareness, but maybe something that they can do to start taking some sort of action.
Sure. So now I'm going to go back into my relationship with my ex-husband,
Mhm,
and it got abusive.
mhm,
Because I'm a fifth degree black belt, like a man, I never saw that what took place as abuse for myself either. But most of us abused women, men don't. We're taught, just like you said, we're taught to be this stronger person, or us women just to be submissive to the man. And at my age and our age, we were taught by our grandparents that women just are submissive people, so we don't reach out. And so the one thing I would say that needs to happen for all of us is we need to start talking to people, because that is the one thing I didn't. And I struggled for 15 years after my divorce because my family did not see my husband as abusive, because I talked him up as opposed to down. And
mhm,
I just never shared anything with anybody because I just didn't, one, see it. And so talking about the things is the first thing that you need to do. Talk about it to your family, to the people. Just start the little conversations, because you start telling the big stuff, and a lot of times they pull away because they're shocked and they don't know what to do for you. So starting to talk about it to your close people that are close knit, and then just continue that
mhm.
talking so that you can move out of the relationship as you move forward.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm going to put up, just so people have it here, the hotline. This is the hotline for the National Domestic Violence Hotline and support. If you feel like you're going through something, let me tell you, you are going through it. The biggest gift we have is our instincts. And so when a lot of times you don't understand what's happening to you and you think, well, maybe tomorrow will be better. That's one thing I used to always say. Well, tomorrow will be a better day. Tomorrow will be different. Or if I do this,
Right.
if I just do this, then it will be all right. And so if you're saying those kind of things in your head, you need to be calling the hotline and talking to somebody about it. Go to a safe place and just share what's going on with you. And then they can give you some sort of assistance. So it's 1-800-799-SAFE, which is 7233. 1-800-799-7233. Write this down, this number. Put it in your purse, put it in some place, put it around in a couple different places in your home, maybe just in case you might need it. But definitely have it someplace so that you can, when you're in a safe place, that you can share it. Often we go through abuse and it's not violent, right? So let's
Mm-hmm.
talk a little bit about that, because a lot of people don't realize the different types of abuse you can go through. So can you share, Tina, with us a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, those of us that have been in a physical abusive relationship, and I ended up with a broken hand and separated ribs and dislocated leg. Um, and that to me, especially coming from my martial arts background, when I would fight, I'd end up with broken ribs and broken noses type of thing. And so that part was no big deal for me. It was the yelling and the screaming and the psychological stuff. At one point, he had me believing that we had a poltergeist in the house from all of the just, I didn't see that moving. I didn't move that. And so after a while, you get to thinking that you're going crazy. And I really did. I ended up calling my mom at that part, and my mom didn't believe in poltergeists or ghosts or anything. And so she even fell into that. So he was gaslighting me, gaslighting our children, and then of course outside of our family. Then you deal with financial abuse, and a lot of men that are in an abusive relationship, that's where the most of their abuse is financial. They just spend everything or destroy things. My husband's ex actually destroyed property and wouldn't rent and kicked renters out. And so the income stream that they would have had to help them through stuff, she didn't care. If she couldn't have it all, she wasn't going to let anybody have any of it. And so you see that. You see biblical or spiritual abuse where they use phrases and stuff and say that you have to do this. There's times where one spouse will force the other one in front of, say, their children or other people to admit to things that they never did, never would do. You have, even though you're in a marriage, this happens a lot to women, you can still be raped by the husband, and we don't think that because we're married, that it's just part of what we have to do. But again, no means no. And when you're not wanting to move into that direction and they force you, that's rape, even though you're married to them. So there's just a multitude of things that we see right now. I'm seeing a lot of legal abuse where people are trying to keep the other spouse in court, spending money on their lawyer, and those types of things. And that all of those are forms of abuse.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot too with regards to, they control one party will control the money, right? And then they just browbeat. I call it browbeating in the courtroom, right? They just keep
Hmm.
bringing more stuff. They keep filing more papers, hitting you on times when it's, maybe a holiday or your birthday or something like that. They'll make sure you're served on those days. They do all these kind of things because it's a mental game, right? And
Yep.
they want you to just give up, and I've had a couple people that I know that have felt that and wanted to just do that because they became overwhelmed with it, and it's a shame that that happens. But we can probably go on about all the different things, but I just want people to know that, again, if you feel like something's not right in your relationship, then go talk to somebody about it. Go talk to them and say, listen, this is what I'm experiencing. What do you think? Do you think that maybe going to a therapist or something like that would help, or is it something more? You know, and I think it's really tough. So what steps can they take to start being safe? Because since you've helped those with in domestic violence, about the local battered women shelter, could you give us any suggestions there on what they could start doing, start planning for?
Yes, they have to reach out for help, and a divorce coach is a great place to start. It's an affordable place to get started, and usually all divorce coaches have a bunch of lawyers that we know that we can get you in touch with when it's time. But I tell them when I get with them early on, don't tell your spouse what your plan is, because the most dangerous time in any relationship is the moment that you go to leave it. Even if that's just verbal, telling them that you're wanting a divorce, things can go sideways. That's when I got hurt, is when I tried to leave. That's where the broken hand and dislocated leg and stuff came from. So I tell them not to let their spouse know, to start doing the research, getting the help on the outside, and then we create an exit plan for them. I usually have them start pulling small things out of the home, the important things that they're going to need. I tell them never leave any important information like in a computer, because they'll break the computer or they'll use it against you. So start moving those little things out, put them either in a friend, family's location, place, or rent a storage unit, and start getting those small things out of there. And then on a day that you know that that spouse is going to be gone for an extended period of time, that's when you've already contacted a team of people to help you move the important items out of that house. That, because once you leave that home, you're not probably going to get back. And I tell them, the things that you take that may belong to them, you can return those things. But once you leave, you can't go back in and get those things. So those are the types of things that I tell them to do. And I say that it's a slow moving process, literally, because you have to keep safe and don't rock the boat. Don't engage in the fights. Become a gray rock. Just kind of be still and don't say things. That was the one thing that I couldn't do when I was in my relationship, and I was always sober when he'd come home intoxicated.
Right, right. There's smaller things too that you can do if, I agree with what you're saying is that you need to start getting moving some things out. The most important is start getting your documentation together. You can
Hmm.
print off some things and then take them over to your friend's house, your parents' house, or whoever, wherever your safe place is, right? You can do
Yeah.
that. I've had a lot of friends that have actually kept stuff in their trunks of their car,
Hmm.
underneath the where the take out the tire and they put stuff in where the tire is and things like that. But I mean, you could do things like that. But there's also some other things with like making sure because if you have to go in a hurry, right? Let's say you're planning this and you're having to go all of a sudden go in a hurry. Start, putting together like a small little suitcase with some clothes or a bag. It doesn't even have to be, it can be a, grocery store bag. You just start putting a few items, not anything that's going to be missed, but just a few
Hmm.
items that you can move out. The other thing I suggested to anyone, even if they're getting a divorce, is if you feel like this is going to start coming for you, start getting like gift certificates at the grocery store, or do Walmart, because then you can buy
Yep.
anything. But start buying yourself some gift certificates and just keep accumulating those gift certificates, because what happens a lot when this goes down, your finances go down, right?
Hmm.
Your
They
money,
take your money away.
yeah, they take your money away. So if you have the gift certificates for being able to, then you can at least buy groceries, that kind of thing. If you can start putting away a little bit of cash, then start doing that. Put in an envelope, put it away, hide it somewhere, do some things like that. But just really start working on getting yourself together. And the the best thing of that, believe it or not, is that when you start doing these small things, you start taking control back of your life and you start
Hmm.
feeling a little bit empowered, you know. And
Yes.
that's really truly what it's all about here on our show, is that we want to help you feel empowered in your life. And so by doing just the smallest minute little thing, it allows you to start taking that feeling of being empowered back. So These are some wonderful tips. I want to thank Tina so much for being with us here today and sharing some of this. We're going to talk a little bit more when we come back from our break, but I want to make sure you guys all know how to get a hold of her. Of course, her name is Tina Lynn Huggins, and she is a divorce specialist. Make sure that you reach out to her if you do have any problems at all. She can help direct you, guide you, and maybe even help you in a program that she might have. So her email is Coach Tina Lynn at gmail.com. That's Coach COACH, Tina, TINA, Lynn, LYNN at gmail.com. And or go into her website, check her out, divorcecoachspecialist.com, divorcecoachspecialist.com. You can send her a message there and she can contact you. But of course, always be safe. Please always be safe. And if you need to reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, it's 1-800-799-7233. 1-800-799-7233. We hope that you'll be safe and you'll come right back. We'll be right back after this commercial.
Hi, I'm John Thomas. I want to share with you a professional products and services directory we call Going Solo Directory. And you need to check this out. If you want exposure to your business or are seeking professional product or services, this directory has it all. And that membership, for the many special features, you get the benefit of a worldwide exposure with a 40-minute video interview on an international business show showcase. All this for just one low annual fee. For more information, contact GoingSoloDirectory.com.
Hello, welcome back to, I'm sorry, I put up the wrong one. We're always doing great. Going Solo, Life After Relationship Loss on WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network. We are the #1 singles talk network, and we want to thank you so much for doing that. Those of you that don't know me, I am the doyenne of relationship building. I'm a divorce, dating, and a life coach connecting singles through our Going Solo network. And you want to reach me, I love to hear from you. My email is goingsolonetwork@gmail.com. We love to get your emails. I read them all myself, my personal emails, so just go ahead and send a message. All our information is right above there on goingsolomedia.com. Check it out. So today we are talking with our elite guest, which is Tina Lynn Huggins, and she is a your divorce specialist. We want to make sure you guys know that. And we're talking about a very difficult subject. We're talking about feel free after abuse and stop walking on eggshells. It's very, very difficult when we're talking about abuse. And as we talked about in the first part of the show, Tina, you mentioned abuse comes in any gender, and it comes with many different facets of abuse. You know, it doesn't have to be violent, doesn't have to be, someone hitting. It can be emotional, it can be financial, it can be, like you said, religious based. I didn't even think about that. I mean, it could be anything to where, I guess, you start feeling uncomfortable in your situation, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the others, because I think that's where, I mean, everybody knows that, okay, when you have an argument, somebody hits you, that's abuse. We get that. We all understand that. When you're forced to do something that you don't want to do, that's abuse. We understand that. But what are those other things that we don't think about it as being abuse? It happens to us and we have no idea, you know. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So, I mean, even the physical abuse, I didn't recognize that when I was going through it because I was martial arts trained and self-defense trained. When he grabbed a hold of me the first time that I remember, my son tells me there was a lot more going on than I even saw. I just, tried to live each day, and that's where the walking on eggshells parts come from. Is it was a great day during the day because my husband was gone at work and I did what I did. And then I would be wherever, like the last time I was folding clothes next to the back door when he came through. And that was it. I was folding clothes and he just lit me up. And so I went to leave. That's the only time I saw what I experienced as physical abuse.
Mm-hmm.
He grabbed me and threw me across the yard, dislocating my leg at that time. But the times before I had broke my hand, he grabbed it and I was able to release it. But I hit a door jamb in the process of getting out. And it took me a lot of time working with a therapist to actually be able to say that was abuse. And now it's 20 years later, and I'm just getting to that point of saying he was abusive because when we're in the middle of it, we just don't see it. Yeah, they're screaming and yelling. And I can tell you, I had gone to a therapist in the middle of that trying to work on me because I thought I was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And we often think that we're the problem. And the therapist had me write as mean of things as I possibly could about him or to him. But of course, these were just going to be things that I was going to share with her. Well, he found that. And so I would never, that's why I tell people, don't say what you've got on your mind. Don't leave things behind. Erase texts that you're talking about divorce. Erase emails that you're talking about divorce, because you don't want to tip the boat before you get out of the house, because it's the most dangerous time when you go to leave. And again, even just talking about leaving is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So recognizing where you're at, recognizing what is going on in your home is the first key. And so some people say, well, how can I help my loved one to even recognize it? There's lots of books out there that you can share, and Walking on Eggshells is one of those books out there that has helped lots of people start to see what abuse really is, because we all have arguments with our spouse.
Mm-hmm.
My new spouse and I, the one that you saw walking around in the back, he and I don't, because we've both been in abusive relationships. We don't yell and scream at each other, and we don't really raise our voice at each other because of that. But raising your voices, throwing things in the house, threatening to punch you in the face, or hitting beside your head, or throwing things beside your body. If they're doing that, they're eventually going to hit you. And those are the types of things that you need to realize is not normal in a healthy relationship.
Like getting in your space. We all have that space around us. They start stepping into your space. That's intimidation, and that is abuse. And so that's something that I think we need to understand, is that sometimes abuse happens gradually. It's almost like this progression that happens, right? So you might get into an argument and then they get in your space and you feel a bit intimidated, you're stepping back or whatever. Those are things that happen. You think about, for me, I remember I had to have dinner ready at a certain time. If it wasn't ready at a certain time, it was like craziness would happen, And I remember one time taking a whole pot of spaghetti sauce because the noodles were not made by that time he wanted. He took the whole thing of spaghetti sauce and just threw it. So it went all over. And remember, it's hot because it's on the stove, burning me and everything else, And it's like, that is abuse. I didn't realize it at the time because I'm just thinking he's mad. Oh, he's mad, you know. But that doing something like that is abuse, and it's like it started with things small little things, which looking back were a control. It was all a control mechanism. Everything, he wanted to be in control of everything. He wanted to be that point person to make the decision and whatever as you went on. And so then it would get progressively worse, 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 worse till we ended up getting a divorce. And so, it's I don't like to go into it a lot because I have children, but I do feel like that it's something that we need to be aware of. So when that pattern starts happening to you, you need to step back, because it's not just a little argument. There's a lot of things that would happen with it. Like you said, the money, only giving you so much money for groceries, nothing else. So you couldn't buy anything else if you wanted to.
Right.
You had to ask for things if you wanted those things. If it was something, well, how come you didn't have enough money in your grocery bill for that? And it's like, well, it's clothing. I mean, you can't, we not eat this week so we can buy the kids shoes. I mean, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. So it's like, things like that. And so, I want to mention it because I want people out there to see that and go, yeah, okay, I get it. I get exactly.
So one of the other things, and you kind of bring it up with the word control, but that is an abusive person's thing, is they're going to take control. So they love bomb you in the very beginning, and that's where you think that they're the most amazing person. And then sometimes this starts to happen before you get married, but they start cutting you off from your family, and they start telling you that your family is treating you badly and you shouldn't talk to them. And pretty soon they've got you brainwashed into thinking that that's real, and you stop talking to your family. And then they go behind your back and tell your family that you're saying mean things to them, and they probably should keep their distance from you. So they cut you off. My dad's current wife ended up cutting us off completely this year. And she just made things, she would lie to my sister saying I would say this about her and tell me things about her. Well, I was pretty good. I had blocked her from communication, and I got it. And finally my sister got that. And so now when my dad passes, we probably won't know right away because she has cut us off, and now she has complete control over him. No family, and he has no friends. She's moved him out of his hometown, and she's 20 years younger than him. So those are the types of things that you will start to see first. And they cut you off from your friends. They don't like your friends. They don't want you to hang out with your friends. And they don't want people to come into the home. Those are the things that you're going to see first in the relationship. Those should be really high raised red flags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's important to know, and that it's going to get worse from there, because the reason they want to isolate you is so, and this can be gender. It can be, like you said, it can be either gender. They want to isolate you because they don't want you to go talking to anybody else about what's going on in your life. They don't want anyone else to say, that doesn't sound normal. That doesn't sound right, So they want to isolate you, but they want that feeling of control that they need, they desire, they want. And so they kind of feed off of that. And so there's a lot of things that we want to be able to share, but we can't do it tonight or today, and we can't get all the information to you. But what we can say to you is, if you don't feel that things are right at home or in your environment, wherever it is, it could be work, it could be anything, right? If you don't feel that it's right, then it's not. And so you do need to talk to somebody about it, and then share with them whatever it is that you're going through, whatever you feel, and then they can come back to you and kind of acknowledge whether it's something that maybe needs to be addressed or something like that. And so go to someone that you think you truly can talk to. And Tina, of course, is one person that you most certainly can go to. Tina Lynn Huggins, she's your divorce specialist, and you can reach her right at coachtinalynn@gmail.com. Shoot her an email and just let her know what you're experiencing, what you're going through. And if she can't help you, she can redirect you to somebody else that can. You can also check out her website, divorcecoachspecialist.com. Send her a message there if you need to. Check out all the information that she has. But, talk to someone, because it's very, very important that you're safe, and that it doesn't escalate to where it's worse, right? That it gets to where you're totally in harm's way. And so again, you can also, anywhere you live, no matter where, this is the National Domestic Violence Hotline and Support. They have resources, advice for your safety. Just give them a call at 1-800-799-7233. Just remember SAFE at the end, SAFE, SAFE. Those are the numbers. So 1-800-799-7233. So just give them a call, tell them what your situation is, and they can start giving you advice and direction on what you need to go. Don't think that, one thing I want people to know is that if you need to immediately do something, then yes, address it, right? Go and take care of it. But if you just feel like, I'm feeling good about this particular thing that happened to me, there's some other things that have happened, just go ahead and talk to the domestic violence hotline, or talk to Tina about it, or someone else, and share with them, because that's when you can start catching it before it escalates and gets worse than what it is. So any closing comments or anything you'd like to share, Tina, before we close out the show?
Just to reiterate, talking, that's where it starts. That you can't get help unless you talk to somebody. You have to talk to somebody. Somebody needs to know what's going on. So just reiterate that, talk. You've got the hotline, you've got me, and talk to the people that are closest to you. Let them know what's really going on, because they're going to be the ones to help pick up the pieces once this is starting through the process to get divorced and get out of that home.
Right. Also, I want to share with you guys, we have the divorcecoalition.com. We are creating a huge awareness of domestic violence. And so we want you to go ahead and check that out, divorcecoalition.com. Through the month of October, which is the National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we are doing over and beyond trying to get out information. Tina is part of that, so we want to thank Tina for that. But we're going to be showing shows on Saturdays during the month of October, one right after another, with regards to abuse of some sort, whether it's violent or financial or whatever it might be, and to what degree, because there's abuse that happens to what degree. It could be just the beginning of something. It could be escalating to where it gets really crazy. So check out the divorcecoalition.com, and we're setting it up. So there's going to be a lot. Keep checking it, because they're adding to it each day. They're adding in podcasts there, so you can go right on there and listen to various podcasts. We're going to be doing the shows on our network, but they're also going to be played on there in a podcast format. So make sure you check that out, and put that in your Rolodex or in your Mind Rolodex, that you can go and check out all those good shows. But it's going to be talking about domestic violence or domestic abuse. So we want to do that. We want to thank Tina so much for helping us here today. Tina Lynn Huggins. This is a hard subject to talk about, and so we want to thank you for allowing us in your environment and helping us to be able to understand it a little more. If you guys are going through a divorce, and even if it's not abusive and you're going through divorce, you need some help along the way, she is your divorce specialist, so contact her. Her email again, it's Coach Tina Lynn, Lynn, Coach Tina Lynn @gmail.com, and her website is divorcecoachspecialist.com. We want to thank you so much for that. We truly appreciate it. All right, we do have I know we do have a listener here with us in the studio, so we want to thank her for joining us. I'm not quite sure how she got it, but we've got your email, and we'll definitely reach out to you after the show. I'll make sure Tina has it. So thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we hope that you'll get back with us. So again, We want you to feel free after abuse and stop walking on eggshells. So we want to thank again our elite guest. All of our information is right there on the goingsolomedia.com, goingsolomedia.com. She's got a special page with all her links and everything there. If you forget them after the show, just make sure you go there and they're all there for you. So thank you so much, Tina. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Cece, and sending blessings to everybody and stay safe.
All right, then. Take care. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.